Hi, I'm Jayaraji Matai. I work as a psychiatric nurse practitioner in Texas. Actually, today I have Miss Olga Vers with us. You know, November has got some specialities for veterans, and in November we celebrate Veterans Day.
Right.
And so, this year on Veterans Day, I'm going to introduce you to Miss Olga Vers, who served the US military.
Right.
So, you served the US military for how many years?
I served in the U.S. Army for 4 years.
Oh, in army for 4 years. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, and Olga, we would like to hear more about you. Uh, can we start from your childhood days?
Okay, so if it's all right with you, I kind of wanted to share my story
Yes.
from then until military until what I'm doing now is peer support. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right,
We
so
like to, yeah, that's a good
So-
idea because there is a lot of people, are thinking about getting into military, and I know that there is a lot of people want to know how people get that, getting that thoughts of getting into how the goal comes.
Right.
So, yeah, that's very good to listen from your
Okay.
childhood
So
stories.
I kind of wrote something up here if it's okay.
Yeah, that's
to,
okay.
To share with you.
Yeah.
So my story begins at the age of 8 when I witnessed my 7-year-old brother Tony's death. I began drinking at a young age to try to turn off the feelings that I had from
If you don't mind, what happened to Tony?
When I tell the story, it's kind of difficult, but it was an accident and
Okay.
with a car. So
How old was he?
he was 7.
And you?
We were walking home from school, and I was 8 years old.
Oh, so it happened in front of you. You witnessed
Yes,
it. I'm
yes.
so
okay.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it made me try to deal with it. I started drinking at a young age.
Yeah, to get rid of the trauma.
Right. The thoughts.
Okay.
Right. And so a little short while after that, as soon as I was able to, I joined the army.
Okay.
I
So
joined
while joining army, you were using alcohol.
Yes, well, that's kind of like what I go into. I joined the Army at the tail end of Vietnam in 1975.
Okay.
So a year later, I was sent overseas. Back then, women were not very welcome, especially where I was at in Germany.
Okay. So you overseas to Germany the first time.
Yes, but after basic training.
Basic training.
And
Okay.
school, then I was sent over to Germany, overseas. And so I was in a forward support maintenance unit, which meant forward support is like up front lines. And I was one out of 2 women and 160 men
Oh, okay.
in the unit that I was in. So eventually I was asked to go into the field with a team of men to fight against our sister company. That's when they were starting to experiment with women in combat. Okay, so they were war games, but they were still powerful. We went out about 7 or 8 times, and we'd go out in the middle of the night to surprise everyone. But what really stands out to me, what I remember more than anything, was when the men told me that what worried them the most was that I would get captured and raped by the enemy. And that really stood out in my mind to know that the men, and we were a team by then, that's what worried them with having me there.
Oh, even your co-fellow
Yeah,
were worried about you.
Yes.
Like maybe the enemies, the opposite, can come and capture you guys and rape you guys.
Yeah. That's with women.
the scary part.
Yeah, that's a difference.
So, sorry to interrupt, but how many? This is in 1975.
Well, by this time it was about 1977. Yeah.
You joined in the military.
Right. I joined in 75.
75. So that time, how many women were in the military? There was a lot that time?
Well, I can't really give you a number on. I just know where I was at and the kind of job that I was doing. There was only 2 women. I was one of those 2 women, and 160 men
Men, oh, okay.
in our one unit.
Okay. So what made you to join in the military?
It was something that I always felt that I wanted to do, and I knew my mother was a single mother, and I knew that she wouldn't be able to afford to send me to school.
Oh, okay.
And I felt like that would be the best way for me to be able to kind of pursue other ways of advancement.
Okay.
So, and I still feel like it was the best decision overall.
Okay. So you joined military after high school?
Yes, I was probably, I turned 19, I think, in basic training.
Okay. Okay. Then you went to the military, and yes, you are the only. There was only 2 women in your time in your team. Okay. And you are one of the 2.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Then after that, yeah, you went to Germany.
Yes.
Then you said that the main issue that time you faced, that maybe the enemy can come and capture you and rape you, that was even your team members were worried about you.
That's what they were worried about more than anything with me,
Okay.
is what they told me. That's why it really stood out in my mind. And, I actually, the experience was a great experience. There was about maybe 7 or 8 of us on the team. Well, it's just, we were just a small team of men and myself. But it was an amazing experience. And so, but that's just something that I never forgot. And it also that they cared about me in that way.
Okay.
They,
So the women and the you were 2 women there, but the man in your team were taking care of you.
well, no, I would say we were doing a job.
Okay.
We were on a mission. I still had a mission.
Okay.
This was just part of that mission. I had a job
Okay.
to do. And so I'm just mentioning that because that's something that stood out to me in that part of my service.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were in the Germany. So how many years you were in the Germany?
Altogether 3 years.
3 years. So what that time?
Well, in Germany 2 years. In that set of military 3 years. Yes.
So most of the time you were in the field.
Well, we used to go out in the field a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I remember the very first time not the first time, but one of the first experiences in the field, when we got out there, the men right away started going to dig what they call a latrine, where they go to the bathroom and all that. So I went to my first sergeant and I said, "Sir, can you tell me what we're supposed to do?" And remember, there's 2 of us, women. And he told me that, he really didn't care what we did. We could just go out there and start digging a hole wherever we thought that we should. And the reason I even say that is because in that kind of job, I don't think they were really prepared for women
Oh, okay.
to be in that position, out there with them.
Okay.
So they weren't prepared.
Yeah.
is what
So
I'm saying.
when you joined the military, there was not too many women.
No, the women that were out there where I was at, a lot of them were in offices doing that kind of work.
Okay, not in the field. So
Yeah.
what you were doing in the military in the field?
Well, first, when I went in, I was a generator mechanic.
Oh, okay.
And when I went to Germany, I went in as a generator mechanic.
Okay.
And then after that, I was asked to go into supply.
Oh, okay.
So I became a supply specialist.
Okay.
And that we would always have to go out and take supplies into the field. And that was a better job. But
Okay.
I started as a generator
Okay.
mechanic.
Anytime did you participate in any war?
No, I was not. We were there right after Vietnam.
Okay.
So where I was at, we were like, they kept us on alert all the time, ready as reinforcements if anything ever happened.
So anytime anything can happen,
yeah,
to be prepared.
We had to always be ready. So that's why we were always on alert going out in the field.
Okay. So how you feel the women in the military? How was it? Because the man was respecting, equally treating, or? How was your experience as being a woman in the military?
I think overall, like I said, it was a good experience. I do believe that it was something that they had to get used to because they weren't used to us being there. And they expected me to do the same job they were doing. They didn't, you know. I mean, I can't really fault them for that. I remember another time I was loaded down with a duffel bag and all the gear that they give us, and I was kind of struggling with it, and a couple of the guys were standing there, and they said, "Hey, you wanted to be here," so they didn't really help me or anything, but I got to where I'm okay with that because I didn't want to be treated special.
Okay.
I wanted to be able to do my job.
Okay.
Just as they were doing theirs, and we were more of a team. It wasn't about. That's how I always have felt. I mean, that's what brought us together.
It's a teamwork.
The teamwork.
Okay. Anytime, I was thinking to join in military, you should have tall and not something like that. Have you ever had any bad? I'm not capable to do certain things because I'm not tall enough.
Tall enough or strong enough. I think that I never really had any situation like that.
Okay.
That I had that I was confronted with.
Okay.
I think and that's very different, I'm sure now than it was when I was in so many years ago. We've come a long way, I feel, but I do believe there's some women that are very capable of a lot, but we also have to remember that biologically we are different.
Yeah.
I know when I first went in the military, one of our women that was shipped over when she got there, they found out she was pregnant, so they discharged her. She couldn't stay. So there are some differences, and we just have to, know that and be aware of that. I mean, I could go into some other stories, but I won't with that. I don't need to. But for me, my experience was a good one, and a learning experience. I learned a lot, not only in my job and what I did, but people and being with all different, cultures, and we all ultimately became a family. And that's how I feel as veterans is the same.
Okay. So you served the U.S. military, U.S. Army for 4 years. So it's what made you to come out of the military?
So that's kind of like where I was. When I got out, and remember, this was at the tail end of Vietnam, and this is in my story here. I tried to find a good job, but
in the military?
No, when I got out.
No, my question is you served the U.S. military, you are only signed for 4 years?
I signed in for 3.
Oh, okay.
I got out with an honorable discharge.
Oh, okay.
When I got out, I tried to find a job. But veterans back at the tail end of Vietnam were not very popular. It was not a good time.
Why?
Well, Vietnam veterans went through quite a bit. Back then, the people weren't too crazy about us being
in the Vietnam War?
Right.
Because all the things you guys got exposed?
Well, especially the ones that actually went to Vietnam, But when they got back, they were treated, really badly. They were. I have some veterans that I've talked to with stories.
Why they were treating badly?
Because they were kind of protesting back then and all that.
Oh, okay.
There's history.
Okay.
So some of the veterans got off the plane and people started spitting at them. It was just the way politically and all that it was back then. It wasn't a very good time. So when I got out and tried to find a job, I couldn't find a decent job. So I re-enlisted. I went back in the military.
Okay.
And I went in to military intelligence the second time. And I was right away made an acting platoon sergeant. I had 50 women under me. that were all brand new into the military. And I was going to school as a, and I'm dating myself here, as a Morse code interceptor. But I was also still drinking through all of this after work.
Okay.
You know, so that for me, I think with everything that I was doing, I was going to school, I was taking care of all the responsibilities of with the women. And I will say that one of my my biggest successes, I feel, was that we were having a big inspection, and my women's platoon, which was almost 50, we beat all the men's platoons. There was 3 other men's platoons that we came in first place, which was one of my biggest feelings of success. But what happened was I got to where I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't sleep. And although
While you were in the military second time?
yes, when I re-enlisted, and I was doing all this work, I was going to school, I was taking care of my platoon, I was, you know, all these things that I was doing, I got to where I couldn't sleep. So even, you know, I was still drinking after work, but so then when that happened, things just really got, it got difficult. It became chaotic for me mentally. You know, I couldn't, and I was eventually, and I'll just be frank with you, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So they gave me a medical discharge.
Okay, while you were in the military second
Yes.
time?
Second time, I had to get help in the hospital, and eventually they gave me a medical discharge. Another honorable discharge, but a medical discharge. And now I'm a disabled vet.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't even know then that I could get treatment, you know.
So you were, that time even you were treating yourself with alcohol?
Yes, self-medicating, yes. And didn't really understand what all that meant, you know what I mean? When they gave me that. So I started, when I was able to find that I was able to get treatment, I was coming in and out of like an inpatient unit for about a good 10 years. And my attitude at the time was I really didn't feel like I wouldn't accept the help. I didn't feel like I needed the help. I felt like all I needed was a drink and I'd be fine, right? And the other thing on my mind was there was no way that I was crazy. And back then the stigma was really something, you know, when it came to mental illness. And so anyway, this part of my story.
But then when did you start to seek help for your mental health problem?
When I was able to find out that I could get treatment at the VA hospital.
Okay, so like you know, you come out from the military second time. So that time you were living alone or living with your
Yes.
family?
No, by myself.
Even first time also?
Yes.
Okay, and that time only you find alcohol to help you with
Right.
all your whatever the feelings. It's like you were so depressed, that's why you were drinking alcohol?
I think the doctors told me it's from my original childhood trauma.
Yeah, okay.
That it can visit you in your late teens or early 20s. And this was after the military. So I was in my early 20s, you know. And so, but for me what happened is, even though, I didn't really feel like I needed the help, I got to where I knew that I was having a problem, because it got to where when I tried to eat, my food wouldn't stay down anymore. So I went to a doctor that I never met before, and I went and I talked to him, and I told him everything, you know, that I was doing. And he basically said to me, when I came back, he did tests and came back, and he said, first of all, I don't even understand how you can get out of bed at all. He goes, but I will tell you, he goes, I'll tell you one thing right now. If you don't stop drinking, you may as well start digging a grave, because you're going to be in it really quickly. You're destroying your pancreas. And so, and this was my miracle day, okay? That's how I look at it. And he told me that what happened is, this is what happened. I walked out of that office, and I looked up, and I said, dear God, if you help me quit, I promise you I will never touch it again. And that was 34 years ago. And it was as if I really feel that God flipped a switch. And then all of a sudden, I didn't feel like I needed it anymore. But then it gave the medication that they were trying to give me an opportunity to also work and help me feel better, which is something that I was fighting, before that. And it cleared up my mind in such a way that my life suddenly began to change, for the better. Opportunities just started presenting themselves to me, and I learned about peer support. They call it about peer support.
Before we go there, you only use alcohol, no other drugs.
Well, I mean, when you do, I'll just be honest with you, when you do that, you do kind of delve into other things.
Okay.
But that was the main problem.
Okay.
And even when I was, after my brother's death, my father was also an alcoholic. I don't know if it made him worse, but yeah, and he wasn't with us very much longer after that, after my brother's death. But I don't know if that's part of it, but that was my biggest
Problem was alcohol.
yeah.
And then did you go for you took the medication? Did you go for therapy also?
Yes, definitely.
So is it through Veterans Hospital?
Yes.
Yeah. So you go for the treatment through Veterans Hospital, and you were able to quit using alcohol. For last 34 years you are not using any alcohol
Right.
or any drugs.
Right.
Then you started to work. You said you were talking about peer support.
Yeah, I was introduced to peer support by a veteran.
So if I ask, because there is so many people may not be knowing what is peer support.
Okay.
What is peer support?
So peer support is veterans basically serving other veterans or helping veterans. And with my lived experience in not only the military, but also in my mental health diagnosis, along with my substance use, a lot of times there's more than one thing going on. And a lot of times when veterans are struggling with substance use, let's say, there's an underlying reason. There's something else going on. And I didn't understand all of that. But when I finally was able to get therapy, with God's help, I always look at this because it's really, that's where it started for me. And this is my experience. But peer support, now what I do is I can go in and I can talk to someone that's struggling, let's say with the same diagnosis, or maybe not, but we have a lot of similar experiences. And I can go in and talk to them and let them know that I can, just by possibly listening to my story, offer them some hope and know that there's another side to all of this, that they can kind of come through it, And it's not an easy thing. I don't ever tell them it's easy because it wasn't easy for me either, But there is a path.
Okay.
You know.
If there is a will, there is a way.
Right.
Yeah, you have to take the decision. And there is a lot, when you take a decision and look around, there is a lot of resources available. But when you are using drug or alcohol, you are on this shell. You are not thinking out of the box. You are only thinking this is the only one can help me and relax me. But when you think out of it, think out of the box, you can see a lot of help.
Yeah, and back then we didn't have peer support. When I was kind of struggling in the hospital, but we had other veterans, so we kind of would still kind of help each other. But now with peer support, it's someone that's in recovery, and also someone that has been trained and gone through some training and certified in being able to, talk to veterans and help problem solve, facilitate groups, talk to groups in group settings with them. like you said, resources, offer all the different resources.
When it is started, this peer support specialist, when that program started?
Okay, so where I'm at, it started as early. I've been doing this 17 years.
Oh, 17 years.
So
Okay.
it started around 2005, 2006, 7. I started in 2007.
So what the peer supporter does?
Okay, so basically what I just talked about is we a lot of times meet one-on-one with veterans, and just kind of talk to them and listen to big pieces listening. Sometimes they just want you to listen to them, and listening and try and offer a bit of, my recovery story if I feel like it will help or fit, or just, offer whatever support I can to them. And they found that evidence shows that when you bring in peer support into the setting, a lot of times veterans don't come into the hospital as much. They start to try to, find ways to try to help themselves, and the things that kind of coping skills and problem solving that we can do with them also seems to help them.
Or when they are in a hard time, they can call. They
Right.
get some. Sometimes they want someone to listen.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's what they are
Yes.
coming to the hospital. But when there is somebody to listen to them as a peer supporter,
Right.
so then yes, there is not much. There is no need for the patient to come to the hospital for someone to listen them.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and I feel like they also know that we understand them.
Yeah, because you went through the same.
Right.
Because I know that when I was working in the medical field, as a nurse, there is I go and talk to the veterans and I talk, but still I'm seeing when a veteran coming, or nurse has got a veteran's background, or any housekeeping people,
Right.
anybody was a veteran, oh my God, I can see that veterans happiness in the face,
Right.
and they like to talk to a veteran than anyone else.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
because I know that because they feel a fellow veterans went through the same thing and they can understand them better than anyone else.
Right, right. And there's a bond, an automatic bond when we know that we're veterans, and it's a certain culture also in the military culture, that unless you've been there, you don't understand it. And the same thing with a mental illness, or when you're struggling with that. A lot of times, even my family, they tried so hard, and especially my mother was my biggest support. God rest her soul. It was always about me when I was in it, and they don't understand me. There's no way but then when you meet someone that hey, they get it, they understand me, then it's a whole different feeling, and then you can kind of sit back and be comfortable with it, So, and for me, the foundation for my recovery, I feel, is when God answered my prayer.
Okay.
Okay, and when that happened to me, it kind of empowered me to share my recovery story with my fellow veterans. And I remember when I first was talking to a group of veterans, and one of the women came up to me, and who happened to be where I was working, and she said, when I came in here, I had no hope. She said, but when I heard your story, I finally feel like I have hope.
Okay.
So that made me feel like, what I was doing,
So I know that still there is a lot of veterans are struggling from mental health disease and substance abuse. So do you have anything to talk to them?
I think the thing that I would say, and I can only speak about my experience, but, with faith, there's always hope, for one thing, and there are a lot of resources out there. If you look for veteran service organizations, there's lots of those. available for us now, to always know that even your church or in the community, there's a lot of things, and of course, always the VA, the Veterans Hospital. I didn't realize I even had that option until, and when I found out that I did, first God and then the VA, I feel saved my life. So just never give up. There's a quote that I learned years ago, and it goes something like, "Run if you can, walk if you must, crawl if you have to, just never give up." And that always stands out in my mind, because you may feel like you're in what I call the pit, when you're in the pit and there's no one or no way to come out, but there is always some way. And I will say it again, with faith there's always hope. And for me, that was when God answered my prayer. Now I have a mission, and my mission is to serve God in any way that I can, and if that's through helping my fellow veterans or serving my fellow veterans and anyone else He puts in my path, then that's what I want to do. That's my new mission, and I feel that mission could be for any one of us and any one of my brother and sister veterans out there.
Okay, so anyone is struggling, they can come and seek help through VA.
Right.
There is a lot of resources.
Resources there. There's that would be one of the main ones, but there's also community help out there. The Veteran Service Organizations, DAV, American Legion, Vietnam Veterans, they're all out there. Wounded Warriors, there's a lot of them out there ready to help veterans. So just know that you got to be able to want to at least do the legwork, and if not, find someone that'll help you do that. And just know that there are people out there that do care. You feel like nobody cares sometimes, or no one understands, but there are, and there's also peer support. Veterans that have struggled the way you have, and the way you may be struggling, we're out there too. So,
You have anything to talk about, anything to say for the female veterans?
Well, my sister veterans is basically the same message. A lot of my sister veterans struggled with what we call MST, military sexual trauma. Not only women, but men have also struggled with that in the military. But again, there's always, and I know it's not easy, because it wasn't easy for me. I'm not trying to say that it's easy whatsoever, but just not to give up, and to know that and I can only speak for myself. For me, when I feel like I'm alone, I know I'm not, because God is there with me in Jesus. Those are my beliefs, and that's what keeps me going in my recovery. But there is help out there. Just know that there's help, and be ready to want to accept the help also, which is a big piece.
And if like either boy or a girl who is looking forward to join in military, so do you have any suggestions for them?
I know that right now things are much different. Of course, back then things were kind of not real settled, and I don't know if it will ever be. But I do believe that the military is a great option. It makes you learn about life, learn about people, and gives you a purpose. And for me, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I feel like if someone is not sure about what they're wanting to do or what their purpose is, serving your country is one of the best things that I feel. I'll speak the way I feel. It was the best thing that I did. Wearing the uniform, all of it was an honor for me. So, and I'm hoping that we have young people that still feel that in these days and times.
Yeah. Anyway, that is a very good, very good. Because I know that there's a lot of kids, they want to do something for the country, they want to serve, but when we talk about their, academically, they are not sure. So the military will give you an opportunity to expose to so many things.
Right.
Then they will get an opportunity to choose to advance their career or advance their education.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, it is anything else you want to talk to female veterans or veterans, or it's for say, like as Veterans Day. Do you want to say any special message to anyone?
Well, yeah, Veterans Day is Monday, so I do want to wish all my fellow sisters and brother veterans to have an amazing, blessed Veterans Day.
Okay.
Thank you so very much for
Okay.
giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much, because we care for veterans, and really I'm saying this because even when I see a veterans in the street, when I see a veterans sleeping under the bridge,
know.
that is very, very painful, because they sacrifice their life. That's what we are enjoying the freedom today. And they are in the street and they are not getting the enough help. That is, it's not good. So, any even single thing, even whatever the way, we all can help them. We have to get together and help them, even though it is mental health problem or medical problem or substance abuse problem.
Right.
Please, even I always tell, even when I met a veteran who is in those kind of situation, I tell them, seek help. Even though you are using substance, then after that you stopped, but you relapse on it. That is the pattern. Don't put you down for that. If you use alcohol, then you quit. If you can stay away from alcohol and drugs, well and good. But if you relapse on it, don't put you down. Seek help. This is relapsing, coming back, quitting, relapsing. This is the pattern of substance and alcohol use. But that's what we are asking you. Don't give up. Seek help. Get into peer supporter group. There is a lot of help available, resources available. Seek help and through the right path and come out, because you all are the heroes and heroines who serve the country and save the country. That's what we all are. We all are enjoying the freedom. So please let us give the opportunity to serve you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Okay. You want to say something else?
No, I was just going to say, hopefully things are going to get better, you know,
Okay,
and I do believe in there is hope, like I said, with faith there's always hope, and not to give that up, just know that it is out there. I do believe ultimately that God is the one
Yes.
that's going to help us, and those are my beliefs, and I feel like right now things, God willing, are going to change for the better.
Yes.
So I don't want to end with a negative whatsoever, because I do feel like, things are gonna be better. And for me, I never would have guessed in my life back then that I would be where I'm at today. And I give all the glory to God, and
Yes.
Jesus in my life. So,
Yes.
yes.
We all should have some belief to move forward.
Right.
And even I tell my patients, we come alone, we go alone.
Right.
If we get some, that is that our birth and death, that period of time, we should have some purpose.
Right,
We did not just come to life. We all should have some purpose.
Meaning and purpose.
Meaning
in your
and
life.
purpose. And thank you for what all things you are doing for the veterans.
Okay.
And thank you for giving me these opportunities. And I'm using these opportunities to say Happy Veterans Day. And
Right.
thank you for all the veterans who serve the country and who is serving the country. Thank you.
All righty. Thanks so very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you.